Tom walked alone across the wide plains of a distant world. The sky was purple with two suns shining high above, casting long golden shadows across the cracked ground. His boots sank slightly into the dust and every step stirred faint echoes. He had been traveling for days, mapping the ruins that stretched across this forgotten planet. His mission was simple: explore, gather data, and return to the orbiting ship. Yet something in the air made him feel this trip would be different from all the others. Far ahead, a cluster of crystal towers rose like giant frozen flames. They shimmered with strange light, reflecting both suns at once. Tom pulled out his scanner, its screen blinking with unreadable signals. He frowned. The readings made no sense. Energy spikes, too strong to be natural, pulsed through the ground as if the whole planet was alive. He moved closer, his heart beating faster. The ruins were silent, yet the silence felt heavy, as though the stones themselves carried secrets. Suddenly, a sharp sound broke through the stillness. It was faint but clear, a cry full of pain. Tom froze, listening. The sound came again, softer this time, from behind the tallest crystal pillar. Without thinking, Tom ran. He rounded the sharp edges of the broken towers and stopped in shock. There, lying on the ground, was a figure unlike any he had ever seen. She was tall, with silver skin that glowed faintly in the twin sunlight. Long hair, like threads of glass, spread across the dust. Shards of crystal had fallen from above, pinning her to the ground. Blood, bright and shimmering like liquid starlight, flowed from her wounds. Her eyes opened slowly, glowing a deep blue. They locked on Tom. She tried to speak, but her voice trembled, weak. "Help, please." Tom dropped his scanner and rushed forward. He pushed at the heavy shards, straining until his arms shook. One by one, he managed to move them away. The figure gasped, pulling herself up slightly, but her body was weak, trembling as though life itself was leaving her. "You're hurt," Tom said, his voice unsteady. "You're losing too much." She shook her head slowly. "Not like you. My people heal with essence, but there is none here." Her words faded as if speaking cost her strength. Tom looked around. The plane was empty. No medkit, no supplies that could help her strange body. He felt helpless, yet he could not watch her die. His mind raced. If she needed some kind of energy or essence, maybe. A reckless thought struck him. He pulled out the small blade he carried and without hesitation cut across his palm. Blood welled up, dark red under the twin suns. He knelt beside her and held out his hand. Her glowing eyes widened in shock. "Your blood?" "Take it," Tom said firmly. "Maybe it will help. It's all I have to give." She hesitated, staring at him as if she could not believe what he offered. For her kind, blood was sacred. To accept it from an alien was unthinkable. Yet the weakness in her limbs reminded her she had no choice. Slowly she reached forward, her hands trembling, and touched his bleeding palm. The moment her lips brushed against the red, her body shivered. Her wounds began to glow. The cuts across her side closed with faint light, as if threads of energy stitched them shut. Her eyes grew brighter and her breathing steadied. The pain that weighed her down seemed to vanish. Tom pulled his hand back in surprise. He watched as her strength returned faster than he thought possible. She rose to her knees, no longer trembling. The dust around her shimmered with strange sparks, as though her very presence had awakened the ground. She stared at him now, not with weakness, but with awe. "Your blood, it is alive with something I cannot explain. You have saved me." Tom's hand throbbed, but he ignored the sting. "I didn't know if it would work, I just couldn't let you die." She touched her chest where the wounds had been, her expression filled with wonder. Then she lowered her head, a gesture of respect. "My name is Nira. I am Princess of the Valari. And you, human, have done what none in this galaxy could. You have given life back to me." Tom blinked. "Princess Valari?" The words meant nothing to him, yet the way she spoke carried weight. Before he could ask more, the ground shook. A distant rumble echoed across the plain. Nira's head snapped up, her glowing eyes sharp. "They are coming," she whispered. "Who?" Tom asked, standing. "Enemies of my people. They will not spare you if they find us together." Tom glanced around, scanning the horizon. He saw nothing yet, only dust rising in the distance. His heart raced. He had only wanted to explore ruins, but now he was caught in something far greater. Nira placed her hand lightly on his arm. "You offered blood to me, stranger. That bond cannot be undone. From this moment our fates are tied." Tom swallowed hard. He had saved her without thinking, but her words carried a weight he could not yet understand. The cry of distant engines grew louder in the sky. Whatever was coming would arrive soon, and Tom realized his journey on this strange world had only just begun. The sky trembled with the sound of engines. Tom could hear the faint roar moving closer, and dust rose high in the distance. Whatever was coming was large, fast, and armed. His instincts told him to run, but Nira stood tall now, her glowing eyes fixed on the horizon. The weakness from before was gone, replaced by a strange power that almost made her seem untouchable. Tom looked at her, still holding his bleeding hand. "If your enemies are coming, we should hide." Nira shook her head. "No, to hide is to invite capture. My people will come. They must see you, see me?" Tom asked, confused. "Why would they care about me? I'm just an explorer." Nira turned to him, her silver skin shining in the sunlight. "Because you gave me your blood. You do not understand what you have done. For my people, blood is more than life. It is legacy. You shared it freely without fear. That is something no Valari has ever witnessed from another race." Before Tom could respond, the sound in the sky grew louder. A group of ships burst through the clouds, their hulls sleek and shining like blades. They flew in formation, descending quickly toward the ruins. The ground shook as they landed, kicking up waves of dust. Tom raised his arm to shield his eyes. Figures emerged from the ships, tall beings with silver armor carrying long staffs that glowed faintly at the tips. Their movements were sharp, disciplined. At their head marched a figure in dark armor, his face hidden beneath a mask of crystal. He looked directly at Tom, then at Nira. The soldiers dropped to one knee, pressing their weapons to the ground. The masked figure lowered his head. "Princess Nira, you live. We thought you lost." Nira stepped forward, her voice strong. "I was close to death. This human gave me his blood and returned my strength." A ripple of shock moved through the soldiers. They lifted their heads, staring at Tom with disbelief. Murmurs spread quickly, some full of wonder, others filled with suspicion. The masked commander's eyes glowed faintly behind the crystal visor. "A human? Impossible. No off-world blood should mix with ours. Such a thing should kill, not heal." Tom raised his hands, feeling all eyes on him. "I didn't mean anything by it. She was dying. I had to try." Nira turned to her people. "He is no ordinary stranger. He is the one spoken of in the old words, the chosen from beyond the stars whose blood would awaken the royal line." The soldiers grew silent. The commander shifted uneasily. "Princess, those are only myths, stories told by the old seers. You cannot place faith in them." "Look at me," Nira said firmly. She spread her arms, showing the silver glow across her healed wounds. "Moments ago I was broken, trapped, bleeding. Now I stand whole. His blood carries something our kind has never seen. Deny the seers if you wish, but you cannot deny what your eyes witness now." The soldiers bowed their heads again. Some whispering words Tom did not understand. The commander remained still, his voice heavy with doubt. "If what you say is true, then the elders must judge him. Until then, he should be watched carefully." Nira gave him a sharp glance. "He will walk beside me not as a prisoner, but as one under my protection." The commander lowered his head reluctantly. "As you wish, Princess." Tom exhaled slowly, his heart pounding. He had not expected to become the center of such attention. Moments ago, he had been nothing but an explorer on a mission. Now these armored aliens were treating him as if he had stepped out of their legends. The soldiers formed a circle around them as Nira led Tom toward the largest ship. The ramp glowed as they entered, the interior lit with soft blue light. The walls seemed alive, humming faintly as though the ship itself breathed. Tom followed, staring in awe. As they walked deeper inside, Nira spoke quietly to him. "Do not fear their looks. Valari are proud, but they respect what they cannot explain. You have done something none of them thought possible. In time, even the most doubtful will accept it." Tom rubbed his hand, still sore from the cut. "I didn't think. I just reacted. Where I come from, you don't let someone die if you can help." Nira gave him a small, rare smile. "That is what makes you different. Many in this galaxy would not risk themselves for another, but you did." The ship lifted with a low hum, the ground outside falling away as they rose into the sky. Through the window, Tom saw the purple horizon shrinking, the twin suns glowing brighter as they climbed higher. Soon the ruins were only a faint shimmer far below. Inside, the soldiers kept their distance, watching him carefully. Tom could feel their suspicion, but also something else, curiosity. They whispered quietly, glancing at him as if trying to measure what sort of being he truly was. At last the commander approached, his mask catching the blue light. "Human, know this. If the princess had not spoken, I would not have allowed you aboard. Our people do not trust outsiders, but you carry something unusual within you. If the elders confirm what she believes, you may become more important than you realize. If not—" He paused, letting the words hang in the air. Tom met his hidden gaze without stepping back. "I didn't come here to be important. I came here to explore. But if helping her means I'm part of something bigger, then I'll face it." The commander studied him for a long moment before turning away. "We will see." Nira placed a hand on Tom's shoulder. "Do not let his tone trouble you. He follows duty, nothing more. In time, he too will understand." The ship continued to rise, leaving the broken plane far behind. Ahead, the clouds parted to reveal something breathtaking. Floating high above the world was a great city, its towers shimmering with silver light suspended by vast energy fields. Bridges of crystal connected the structures, and golden sparks danced between them like lightning frozen in midair. Tom's mouth fell open. "That is your city?" Nira's glowing eyes softened with pride. "Valara, the home of my people. Soon you will see why your gift means more than you yet know." The ship glided toward the floating city, its silver towers gleaming like blades of light. Tom pressed against the window, staring with wide eyes. He had never seen anything like it. The tower seemed alive, pulsing with a gentle glow. Energy flowed between them in arcs, creating a soft hum that filled the air even inside the ship. Nira stood beside him, her expression calm yet proud. "Valara has stood for 1,000 years. It is the heart of my people. Few outsiders have ever seen it, and none have entered." Tom nodded slowly. "It's beautiful, like it was built out of light itself." The commander's voice broke in from behind. "Do not forget, human. Beauty hides danger. The council will decide your fate once we land." Tom turned to glance at him but said nothing. He could feel the suspicion in the commander's words, but he also knew there was no turning back now. He had chosen to save Nira, and that choice had led him here. The ship descended smoothly onto a wide landing platform that glowed with golden light. As the ramp lowered, Tom stepped out into the city for the first time. Cool wind brushed against his face, carrying a faint scent like ozone after a storm. Above, smaller ships darted between towers, while below, the endless clouds stretched out like an ocean. Valari citizens filled the platform, their silver skin catching the light, their glowing eyes locked on him. Murmurs spread quickly through the crowd. Some pointed in wonder, others whispered with unease. To them, Tom was a stranger who had done the unthinkable, offered his blood to the princess. Nira walked forward with calm steps. The crowd parted before her, bowing their heads. Tom followed close behind, feeling every gaze burn into him. He kept his shoulders straight, refusing to show fear. They entered a grand hall carved from crystal, its walls shining with faint blue light. At the center stood a raised platform where 5 elders sat, each cloaked in robes that shimmered like liquid metal. Their eyes glowed brighter than any others Tom had seen, filled with age and wisdom. The commander bowed deeply. "Honored elders, we have returned with Princess Nira. She has been saved, but the means of her survival defies belief." One elder leaned forward, his voice deep and steady. "Speak, child of Valara. Tell us what happened." Nira stepped onto the platform and bowed her head. "I was trapped and wounded in the ruins. My blood was nearly gone. Then this human appeared. With nothing else to offer, he gave me his blood. Against all expectation, it healed me. It awakened my strength." The hall grew silent. The elders exchanged long looks. Finally, one of them spoke, her voice like a soft echo. The seers spoke of this. They told of a stranger from the stars whose essence would awaken the royal line. Many called it myth. Yet here stands proof. Tom shifted uneasily. "I don't know about legends. I just couldn't let her die. Where I come from, you help someone if you can." The eldest of the 5 studied him with glowing eyes. "Your words are simple, but your act carries great weight. Blood is sacred among the Valari. To share it freely is to bind fate. Do you understand what you have done?" Tom shook his head slowly. "I didn't think about fate. I only thought about saving her." Nira raised her chin. "Yet his blood did more than save me. It gave me power I did not know I carried. When I stood again, I felt strength greater than before. It is not chance. It is destiny." The commander frowned, his voice sharp. "Elders, we must be cautious. Perhaps this human carries poison in his veins. We should test him, not praise him." One elder lifted his hand. "Enough, Commander. Doubt has its place, but so does truth. We must see with our own eyes." He gestured toward a large crystal that stood in the center of the hall. It pulsed faintly like a heart of light. The royal crystal will judge. If the human's blood is what the princess claims, it will respond. Tom looked at Nira, uncertain. She gave him a steady nod. Do not fear. Trust what you carry within. He stepped forward, the crystal humming louder as he approached. A shallow bowl rested at its base. Tom pulled out his small blade, cut his palm again, and let a drop of blood fall. The moment his blood touched the bowl, the crystal blazed with light. Golden sparks shot through the hall, and the walls themselves glowed brighter. The Valari gasped, bowing low, for the crystal had never shone so brilliantly. One elder whispered, his voice trembling. The seers were right. The chosen has come. Tom stared at the glowing crystal in awe. He felt no different, yet the Valari looked at him as if he were something more than human. The commander clenched his fists. If this is true, then everything changes. The war, the balance of power, all of it. Nira stepped to Tom's side, her voice clear and strong. Then let it change. With his help, we may finally have hope against the Drask. His blood is proof that destiny favors us. The elders bowed their heads together, speaking in unison. The human shall remain under the protection of the princess. Until the time is right, his role will unfold as the stars intended. Tom exhaled slowly, the weight of their words pressing down on him. He had come here as an explorer, chasing ruins and secrets. Now he stood in the center of an ancient prophecy, bound to a people he had never known. And as he looked at the glowing crystal, he could not shake the feeling that his simple act of compassion had set the galaxy on a path that could not be undone. Days passed since Tom first stepped into the floating city of Valara. Though the elders had given their blessing for him to stay, not all the Valari welcomed him. Wherever he walked, eyes followed him. Some were filled with awe, but others carried doubt, even fear. He had given his blood to their princess, and that act made him both a symbol of hope and a mystery they did not trust. Tom tried to keep his mind steady. He was no chosen one. He was just a man who could not watch someone die. Yet every corner of the shining city reminded him that his life had changed forever. Bridges of crystal hummed beneath his feet. Towers of silver light rose into the sky, and the people whispered as he passed. Nira stayed close, guiding him through the city. She taught him small customs, how to bow with his hand over his chest, how to stand when addressing the elders, how to speak gently when talking to the young. She walked with grace, her glowing eyes calm, yet Tom noticed the quiet strength in her steps. It was as if the bond they now shared gave her new purpose. One evening, she brought him to a wide chamber high in the central tower. The walls glowed with shifting colors, and at the center stood the royal crystal, the same one that had answered his blood. The 5 elders were present, seated in a half circle. Soldiers lined the edges of the chamber, their staffs glowing faintly. The air was heavy with expectation. Tom looked around nervously. Why am I here again? Nira's voice was steady. Because the council must see more than words. They must see the bond with their own eyes. The eldest elder raised his hand. Human, you showed us your blood carries power. Yet to trust you fully, we must see how that power lives within our princess. Tonight we ask you to join in the ceremony of proof. Tom's brow furrowed. Ceremony of proof? Nira stepped forward, her voice carrying across the chamber. It is tradition. A bond is tested before the crystal, to see if it is true or false. You gave your blood once to save me. Tonight you must give it again, not in desperation, but in trust. The crystal will judge if your bond is real. Tom's chest tightened. He looked down at his hand, still scarred from the cuts he had made before. And if it's not real? The commander, standing near the wall, spoke coldly. Then the light will fade and you will be cast out. The words hung like stone, but Tom did not flinch. He looked at Nira, who met his gaze with calm certainty. Do not fear. The bond is strong. I feel it still. The elder gestured toward the crystal. Begin. Nira extended her hand, palm up, the faint glow of her silver skin reflecting the crystal's light. Tom took a slow breath, then pulled out his blade. With a careful motion, he cut his palm once more. Red welled up bright against the shining floor. He pressed his hand to hers. The moment their blood touched, the crystal came alive. Light burst outward in waves, filling the chamber with golden fire. The walls shone as though the stars themselves had been captured within. The soldiers gasped, the elders leaned forward, and even the commander's steady stance faltered. Nira's body glowed brighter, her eyes shining like twin suns. She lifted her head, her voice ringing with strength. The bond is real. The elders rose together, their robes shimmering. So it is, human, you are now bound to the royal line. You walk not as a stranger, but as one tied to our fate. Tom pulled his hand back, his chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. He felt lightheaded, not only from the blood, but from the weight of the moment. He had thought this would be another test, another ritual. But now he understood. He had become part of something far larger than himself. The soldiers bowed low, though some hesitated. The commander stepped forward, his voice hard but respectful. The bond is true, yet we face enemies who do not care for bonds or light. The Drask grow stronger each day. How will this human help us in war? An elder turned to Nira. Princess, what do you say? Nira's voice was firm, without doubt. With his blood I can unlock strength hidden in our line. Already I feel it. Together we can wield the ancient weapons. With him we may turn the tide against the Drask. Murmurs rose among the council. The elders looked at one another before nodding. Then so it shall be. Human and princess bound in life shall fight as one. The time of trial comes soon. Tom stood in silence, his thoughts heavy. He had never wanted war. He had only wanted discovery. Yet as he looked at Nira, standing tall with glowing light in her eyes, he knew he could not walk away. He had chosen once before, and that choice had bound him to her. After the ceremony, as the hall emptied, Tom leaned against the cool crystal wall. Nira stood beside him, her hand lightly touching his arm. You stood without fear, she said softly. Tom gave a small, tired smile. I was afraid. I just didn't want to show it. She tilted her head. That is courage. Not the absence of fear, but standing even when fear is heavy. My people will remember what you did tonight. Tom looked at her glowing eyes, seeing both warmth and resolve. He realized she was no longer just the princess he had saved. She was a leader preparing to face war, and he was now part of her path. Above them, the city lights shimmered, reflecting off the crystal walls. And for the first time, Tom understood. He was no longer only an explorer of ruins. He was now part of a story that could decide the fate of an entire world. Valara glowed under the twin suns, its towers shining like silver fire. Yet despite its beauty, tension filled the air. Rumors spread quickly. Enemy ships had been sighted on the edge of the system. The Drask, cruel and relentless, were moving closer. Tom stood on a high balcony with Nira looking over the city. Bridges of crystal sparkled beneath them, and smaller ships darted between towers like silver birds. But there was no peace in the movement. Soldiers hurried across platforms. Weapons were carried into armories, and the hum of engines filled the sky. They're preparing for war, Tom said quietly. Nira's eyes glowed faintly as she watched her people. The Drask do not wait. They strike without warning. My people are strong, but their faith has been broken after many defeats. They believe the Drask cannot be stopped. Tom frowned. And you think I can change that? She turned to him, her expression calm yet fierce. Not only you, us, together. The bond we share is more than a story. It is power, and it must be used. Before Tom could answer, the commander approached, his armor shining under the sun. He bowed slightly to Nira, then glanced at Tom. The Drask have entered the outer skies. Their fleet is larger than expected. We cannot hold long without help. Nira's voice was steady. Then we will not wait behind walls. We must meet them in the skies. The commander hesitated. Princess, our fleets are weakened. We risk everything. Nira lifted her chin. Everything is already at risk. But now we have something the Drask do not. We have him. The commander looked at Tom with narrowed eyes. A single human cannot turn war. Nira's reply was sharp. Not a single human, a bond. His blood awakened my strength. With it, we can wield the weapons of the ancients. The commander did not argue further. He bowed and left to prepare the fleets. Tom shifted uneasily, looking at Nira. Weapons of the ancients? What does that mean? She motioned for him to follow. Together, they descended deep into the central tower, moving through glowing halls until they reached a great chamber sealed by massive crystal doors. Guards stood on either side, stepping back as Nira placed her hand against the door. Her skin glowed, and the crystal split open with a soft hum. Inside lay weapons unlike anything Tom had seen. Blades of light rested in silver stands. Staffs that pulsed with inner fire leaned against walls. And at the center, a long spear floated in midair, glowing like a captured star. This, Nira said softly, is the Hall of the First. These weapons were made by our ancestors, but no Valari has been able to wield them for centuries. They respond only to a bond. Until you came, they were silent. Tom stared at the floating spear. And you think with my blood they'll work again? I know they will, Nira replied. She stepped forward and took the spear. At first it was heavy, resisting her grasp. Then Tom placed his hand over hers. The bond flared, a golden spark running through their skin. The spear blazed with light, lifting itself easily in her hands. Tom's breath caught. It worked. Nira's eyes glowed brighter. With this and with you beside me, we can lead them. The chamber shook suddenly as alarms blared across the city. A voice echoed through the walls. Drask fleet approaching. All units prepare for battle. Nira turned sharply. They are here. Together they rushed back to the surface. The sky above the city was darkening as massive enemy ships pierced the clouds. Their hulls were jagged, shaped like claws, and their engines left trails of fire. Smaller Drask fighters poured out, filling the skies like a storm of steel. Valari ships rose to meet them, their silver forms darting with graceful speed. Energy beams lit the sky, striking against enemy shields. Explosions thundered across the horizon, shaking the floating towers. On the landing platform, soldiers gathered, ready to fight. The commander stood at the front, barking orders. When he saw Nira approach with Tom at her side, he gave a short nod. The fleet awaits your command, Princess. Nira raised the glowing spear high. The weapon blazed, casting golden light across the platform. Soldiers dropped to one knee, their voices rising in a chant. Hope flickered in their eyes for the first time in years. Tom felt the weight of the moment pressing on him. He was no warrior, yet every gaze turned to him now. He was the stranger who had awakened their princess. He was the bond they believed in. Nira lowered the spear and looked at him. Will you fight with me? Tom swallowed hard. Fear coiled in his chest, but he met her glowing eyes and nodded. I will. The commander signaled, and ships opened their bays. Soldiers rushed aboard, engines roared, and the fleet launched into the sky. Tom followed Nira onto her vessel, the spear glowing in her hands, its light casting long shadows across the deck. As the ship rose into the storm of battle, Tom gripped the rail tightly. His heart pounded, but he stood firm. He had given blood once to save a life. Now he would give everything to fight for a people who had placed their hope in him. The Drask fleet loomed ahead, dark and merciless. But for the first time the Valari did not tremble. Their princess stood ready, her bond with the human shining like fire against the darkness. The battle for the skies had begun. The sky above Valara burned with light and energy. Drask ships moved like a dark swarm, their jagged hulls cutting through the clouds. Valari ships rose to meet them, silver forms darting with speed, engines humming and weapons flashing. Tom stood beside Nira on the deck of her ship, the golden spear glowing in her hands. He felt a mix of fear and determination. His body was human, fragile compared to the warriors around him. Yet he remembered her words and the bond their blood had created. He was here not just to observe, but to act. The first Drask fighter swooped toward them, firing energy beams. Nira raised the spear, and it emitted a brilliant arc of light that struck the attackers mid-flight. The beams exploded, throwing sparks across the air. Tom ducked instinctively, but he could feel the surge of energy from the bond, a warmth that filled him with courage. Hold steady, Nira shouted. Aim for the clusters, not single ships. Concentrate your fire! Tom grabbed a mounted plasma cannon, aiming at an incoming fighter. His hand shook, but the crystal walls of the weapon responded to his focus, and a beam shot forward, hitting the Drask ship and sending it spinning into the clouds. Around him, Valari soldiers cheered, their faith rising with every enemy that fell. More Drask ships attacked from above. Tom and Nira moved together, the golden light of the spear cutting through the enemy like a comet. Whenever Tom's hand brushed hers, energy surged between them, giving Nira strength beyond her natural limits. Her movements became faster, sharper, each strike precise. One massive Drask warship descended, larger than all the others, its engines roaring like a beast. Its cannons fired at Valari ships, tearing through defenses. Nira raised the spear, holding it toward the enemy. Light erupted from the weapon, forming a shield that absorbed the incoming fire. Sparks danced across the hull, but the bond between her and Tom made it unbreakable. Tom, the center, Nira shouted. We must strike at the main weapon before it destroys the fleet. Tom nodded, adrenaline surging through him. He climbed onto the rail and fired the ship's cannons directly at the enemy's central cannon. Each shot felt heavy with purpose. Around them, Valari ships coordinated attacks, following their princess's command. The Drask warship twisted and roared, firing again. A beam struck the ship's wing, throwing Tom off balance. He fell, but Nira's hand shot out, catching his arm with incredible strength. "Focus on the bond," she urged. "Together we can do more than any one of us alone." Taking a deep breath, Tom pressed his hand to the spear. Energy flowed from him to Nira, and the weapon blazed brighter than ever. Nira's eyes shone with golden fire as she thrust the spear forward. A shockwave erupted from it, tearing through the Drask warship. Sparks flew, metal twisted, and the enemy ship broke apart, spiraling into the clouds. The Valari fleet surged forward, inspired by the display of power. Every ship pressed the attack. Smaller Drask fighters fell one by one, while the larger ships struggled against the combined might of the Valari and the bond of human and princess. From above, Tom could see the Drask commander watching, his dark ship still intact but faltering. Nira glanced at him. "The commander must fall. If we take him down, the rest will retreat. Then we go," Tom said, gripping the railing tightly. They moved in unison, spear blazing, the human and princess striking together as one. Drask ships tried to block them, but the energy between them seemed unstoppable. Tom fired the ship's cannons while Nira swung the spear, light cutting through enemy lines like a storm. Finally, they reached the Drask commander's ship. It was massive, black and jagged, with energy shields glowing faintly. Nira lifted the spear high. Tom pressed his hand against hers, sending a surge of energy into the weapon. The shield cracked, sparking and trembling under the combined power. With a final thrust, the spear pierced the command deck. Light exploded outward, filling the sky with golden brilliance. The commander's ship shuddered, then broke apart, falling into the clouds below. The remaining Drask ships faltered. Confused and leaderless, they began to retreat, retreating into the dark horizon from which they had come. The Valari fleet cheered, engines roaring, ships darting in celebration. Tom slumped against the railing, exhausted but alive. Nira stood beside him, the golden light fading from the spear. She looked out over the battlefield, her silver skin glowing faintly. "We did it," she said softly. Tom shook his head, still trying to catch his breath. I didn't know we could do that." She smiled, a rare warmth in her glowing eyes. "It was not just me. It was the bond. Your courage, your choice to give your blood made this possible. Today our people saw something they had not believed possible for centuries." The commander approached, stepping onto the deck with the few surviving Valari soldiers. His armor was scorched, his expression serious but respectful. "Human, you fought beyond expectation. Your presence changed the tide of battle. Valari will remember this day forever." Tom looked at him, uncertain. I just did what anyone would have done. I didn't expect—" Nira interrupted gently. "You gave more than your blood. You gave courage. That is what turned fear into victory." Above, the twin suns shone down on the city, reflecting off the crystal towers. Below, the remnants of the Drask fleet disappeared into the horizon. Valara was safe for now, but Tom knew this victory was only the beginning. He looked at Nira, feeling the weight of what had happened. "We made a good team," he said, finally smiling. Nira nodded. "Yes, and together we will protect this world. Together we can face anything." The sky was still bright, but in the distance shadows moved, hinting that the galaxy held more challenges ahead. Yet for the first time, Tom felt that humans were more than explorers. They could be heroes, capable of courage and strength beyond measure. And so, the Valari celebrated, knowing a human had become their ally, their hope, and a symbol that even in the darkest skies, bravery could shine brighter than any weapon. The skies over Valara were calm now, the smoke and fire of battle gone. Ships returned to the floating platforms, engines humming softly. As the city slowly recovered from the chaos, soldiers walked with measured steps, tending to minor damages, while citizens emerged from their homes, their eyes wide with relief and awe. Tom stood beside Nira on a high balcony, looking down at the city that had been saved. The golden light of the spear was gone, but the bond remained, subtle yet powerful, a thread connecting them both. "It's quiet," Tom said softly, "almost peaceful." Nira nodded, her silver skin glowing faintly in the twin sunlight. "Peace is fragile, but it is ours to protect. Your courage gave hope to my people. They will remember it always." Tom shook his head. "I didn't do anything special, I just—" Helped? Nira turned to him, her glowing eyes serious. You offered blood without hesitation, knowing it could have harmed you. That is more than most could do. It was not a choice of strength, but of character. That is why the bond worked. Below, the citizens gathered in the central plaza, cheering for their princess and the human who had fought beside her. Soldiers raised their weapons in salute, acknowledging both the bravery and the heart behind the actions. Even the commander, usually reserved and stern, gave a nod of respect toward Tom. Human, he said, stepping closer, you have changed the course of Velari history. Our people will speak of your deeds for generations. You do not belong to legend, you belong to reality. Tom smiled awkwardly. I never expected that. I only wanted to help Nira survive. She placed a hand on his arm, her touch warm despite the faint glow. And in helping me, you saved thousands. You reminded my people what courage truly is. Humans, we see them as fragile, distant, but you have proven otherwise. You are the proof that compassion and bravery are not bound by species. Tom looked down at the city, taking in the shimmering towers, the bridges of crystal, and the golden light that reflected from every surface. He felt a strange pride, but also a quiet humility. He had acted instinctively, yet that instinct had sparked something much larger, a bond that would shape the destiny of an entire civilization. Days passed, and Valara slowly returned to life. Markets reopened, children ran across glowing bridges, and ships resumed their patrols in the skies. Tom trained with Nira, learning the ways of her people, understanding the rituals and customs, and mastering how the bond could amplify their strength. Each day, the golden energy between them grew stronger, subtle pulses of light that seemed to ripple through the air around them. One evening, Nira led Tom to the Hall of the First, where the ancient weapons rested. The floating spear hovered quietly in the center. It is time, she said softly. Time for the people to see that the bond is not just for battle. It is for the future. You are part of our history now, Tom. The council will speak of this day as the beginning of a new era. Tom stepped forward, placing his hand over hers on the spear. Light flared briefly, filling the hall with a gentle golden glow. The elders, soldiers, and citizens who had gathered gasped in awe. The spear did not burn or strike. It simply shone, as if acknowledging the bond between human and Velari princess. This is the first time in centuries the spear has responded so, an elder whispered. The prophecy has truly begun. Tom felt a strange warmth, not pain or exhaustion, but a sense of unity, as if he and Nira were no longer separate beings. I never imagined that helping someone could mean all of this, he said softly. Nira smiled, her glowing eyes reflecting pride and hope. Many underestimate the power of simple choices. You showed courage when it mattered most. That courage has changed everything. The commander approached once more, bowing slightly. Human, you have earned your place among us. Your actions have inspired not only the soldiers, but all of Valara. Your bond with Princess Nira is proof that the strength of one can become the strength of many. Tom looked around at the crowd, at the citizens who were smiling, at the children waving to him, at the soldiers nodding in respect. For the first time, he felt not like a stranger in a distant world, but a part of something larger than himself. Nira took his hand, the subtle glow of their bond visible to all. We will protect Valara together. With your courage and my strength, nothing can break this city. Nothing can break us. Tom nodded, feeling the weight and promise of her words. The twin suns shone above, casting light over the floating city. In that moment, Tom realized that his journey, beginning with a single act of compassion, had become a legacy. A human had given blood to an alien princess, and in doing so, had awakened hope, courage, and the future of a civilization. The citizens cheered once more, but Tom no longer noticed the noise. He looked at Nira, and together they watched over the city. The bond between them was no longer just a legend or a prophecy. It was real, enduring, and a testament to what could happen when courage met compassion. For Tom, the adventure had begun as a simple mission, but it had grown into a story that would be told for generations. A story of bravery, trust, and the undeniable truth that even a single human could change the destiny of an entire world. And in the glowing city of Valara, under twin suns with the bond between human and princess shining brighter than any weapon, the future was theirs to protect.